Okay, we are live and we are ready to rock and roll. I decided to pull out my best fur vest for you. Um,
We're gonna do it Hollywood this thing,
we're
okay? I
yeah,
see
like
you.
like I mean maybe I'm not gonna sit here the entire time like this, but I did have a fur coat and I saw yours and I thought it only seemed fitting.
Why are fur coats so popular with like the 57 to 90 demo? Like
I
my
don't know.
mother is like in her mid 70s. She's like, we went to holiday mass and my beaver was just, and I'm like, all right,
Yeah, you
let's
can't.
pump the brakes on your fur coat, okay? Like she gave my wife her fur coat, and my wife's in her late 30s. Sorry, honey. And she like doesn't feel comfortable wearing fur coats, so I
You
wear
know,
the fur coat.
well, I like that you do, and I don't know why, but I envision myself going to like Christmas Eve Mass now, and every 55 plus year old has a mink down to their ankles or like a babushka like right here.
Why is it? I feel like you become 55 and you're like, all right, where's my fur? Like, it's like your name your whole life is like Bob, and then you become 55 and they're like, your new name is Dick. There's no one who's like below the age of 55 whose name is actually Dick. Like, you just morph into that. They're like, your whole life, your name's Jeff. You're 55, your new name's Dick.
And then it's like, yeah, or people become like old Jack or like Nana. Like, when does a woman become like Nana? Like, I just think about the dog in Peter Pan. Like, was she always named Nana? Like, you refer to a puppy as Nana? Doesn't that sound
I think
weird?
Nana may be like a birth thing. Like, instead of
Yeah.
being called grandma,
Mm-hmm.
I think they're like, I don't want to be called grandma. That sounds old. Call me Nana. It's like, you're still old. No one's called Nana and they're like 27, right? Like, there's a certain age demo where you're Nana.
I would hope so. All right. Well, Tim, thanks for coming on. You are drinking a mimosa. I assume that's what that is.
Correct.
All right. And I'm drinking some chalkboard rose.
Mimosa is one of those things, Jenna, that two's not enough, three's too many, or six isn't enough, eight's too many. Like, there comes a line where you're like, I'm fine, I'm fine. And then you're like, oh, I had eight mimosas. I'm feeling it.
And then you fall off a cliff. It's like having a martini. It's like having a blue moon. Um, yeah, I don't know what the correct number is when drinking like everything
Mar-
in that category.
Martinis for me, and I'm 6'6", 235 pounds. Two martinis for me. The third one, like everyone in my circle is like, uh-oh, here we go. Here we go. So two, I know. If I go two martinis to beer, I mean, it took me 37 years to figure that out. So I'm not proud that I kind of know the regiment that I need to be on.
I mean, I guess it's a good thing you figured it out now instead of when you're like 70.
But 22 days I went without alcohol during the pandemic.
What does this mean?
This is 22.
Oh,
This is my
oh,
Richard Nixon. Yeah, 22
okay.
days in the pandemic I went without alcohol. It's the longest stretch probably since I've become legal to drink, which
I
was
think I went 22 days drinking alcohol straight, so that's how different you and I were in this pandemic.
yeah. I mean, I have little kids, 5 and 3, and as I've gotten older, it's not. I could still hang. It's the morning, and then you got like bells and whistles going off, and Thomas and Friends and Zootopia, and you're just like, get me out of this. Like, so as I've gotten older, my nights out have kind of diminished and diminished, which makes it kind of like now when I really get to party, I do enjoy myself, but kind of just like the nights that escalate because the little kids, they don't really exist anymore for me.
No, they are permanent alarm clocks, which I'm happy for now. I don't have one of those.
I
So,
I tell all of my friends, a lot of my friends, they don't have kids yet. And I tell them, I go, your life is not going to get better by having a little kid. No, no. It will get fuller. You'll have different experiences. And I think it will definitely put a different perspective on life as it has for me and my different challenges with my kids. Your life is not better. It's not all of a sudden, oh, like if someone's struggling in their marriage, don't have a kid. Don't think that's going to be the answer because that's only going to make things more challenging, harder, can't play golf, can't find date night, paying for babysitters. Like, but it makes it a fuller experience. So it changes your perspective, but making your life better, I think down the line it does, but early on, it's definitely a huge challenge.
I can only imagine. Okay, so Tim, one thing I find really interesting is you and I both grew up in bars. We did. How do you think growing up in a bar has impacted you?
I just think that being able to socialize with so many different types of people. And I find it interesting now, Jenna, when I get on an elevator, can I curse on this?
Of course.
Basically, to fuck with somebody, I say hello to them. How's your day going? And it's like, like they've actually put televisions on elevators if you get on certain elevators so that there is that lack of like, you just look at the television. I remember when I was working at Aon downtown, they had a television in the elevator. That way no one ever had to engage with one another. And one thing I would tell the next generation is if you're able to engage, I think you're going to have a huge advantage because now people meet via texting, people meet via apps. And when you engage with someone, there's so much like everyone's so uncomfortable now. And I think growing up in a bar, it forced me to engage with the guy who's the CPA, the guy who's the lawyer, the guy who works construction, the guy who's the bookmaker, the guy who like, like cheats on his wife on the side. Like there's so many different types of people at the bar that you kind of know, and at least I know, who do I have to be when I'm talking to this guy? Like this guy's a little more buttoned up, and I think it's taught me how to be a chameleon. And, sometimes I have to put on my Northwestern front and people are like, wow, he went to Northwestern. It's like, haha. And then other people, I'm drinking on the South Side, and that's the kind of people that I relate to, people on the South Side of Chicago, because where I grew up in New York, I see a lot of common similarities. So I think growing up in a bar, to answer your question, it teaches you how to be a chameleon based on who you're talking to.
Okay, wait, you said something interesting about New York and the South Side. What do you think are the biggest similarities?
Yeah, I think when people think of New York, Jenna, they think of Manhattan and the Empire State Building, and no doubt about it. That is an island. So to get to New York City, you either have to travel via tunnel or over a bridge. But as far as like Queens, Brooklyn, Staten Island, the Bronx, and I'm not that familiar with the Boogie Down, except for going up there to play ball and stuff. Growing up in that Queens, Long Island sector, there's definitely like a blue collar feel. And, you got more cops and more firemen. And, my grandparents were first generation. They came over here because there was nothing to eat. They were like, we got to leave here. There's nothing to eat. I mean, think about that. They were like, we can't live here anymore. There's nothing to eat. Like they left Ireland and so, my dad grew up that bar life. And I think interesting, Jenna, and you could probably answer this better than me. I think when people come in to visit a bar or visit you and you're bartending, I think they see a lot of glamour, right? You're carrying on, you're pouring drinks, everyone's having fun, but the bar life is a really tough life, and there's a lot of long hours, and there's a lot of non-glamour things that go along with it.
I think there's a lot of grinding, hard work, and the facade of it looks nice, kind of like this industry, wow, this is amazing. You get to do this all day, and then you're like, yeah. But I also do 20 other things as well with it that but it's, I don't know, you do it because you love it. And, I think you don't always care sometimes about the grunt work because I think it ends up paying off in the long run.
Yeah. I mean, the bar life, watching my dad, and the thing about New York bars, you realize they don't close, right? Like New York bars are 4 a.m., 5 a.m., every bar. Chicago has different rules as far as different bars are staying open. And if you're a real degenerate, the bars that stay open. I could go through the list of them, whether it's Gamekeepers or the Store or Beaumont's or the Hanging Uppy, or I could just go through it used to be Stout when I was cool. Now those days are over. So my dad had a real grind as far as the hours that he used to put in. And then on the flip side, we're broadcasting, sometimes it's 5 a.m. flights, and that's kind of my norm because I want to get out and make sure my plane gets out. Normally the first flight does normally get out, and the hours are unusual. And if you want to go into broadcasting, and I tell people this, especially as a young person, when you graduate college and all your friends are moving, let's just say to a city like Chicago, and they're living in Lincoln Park and everyone's having fun, and Friday and Saturday nights they're going out. You know what you'll be doing as a broadcaster? You'll be looking at the cat in the tree reporting. Oh, and you won't be in Chicago. You're going to be middle of nowhere making no money, but that's the grind, that's broadcasting. So all your friends that are posting on Instagram how much fun they're having, and you're chasing the cat that's in the tree, and I use that as an example, but there's not a lot of glamour in broadcasting, especially early on. And I think right now during the pandemic, your setup, my setup, this is going to be the evolution of broadcasting. I am calling NBA games, and I'm calling multiple playoff games. I've called regular season games from right here. I got a monitor in front of me, and you start thinking about like these networks, like, wow, they're going to pay a schmo like Tim Doyle to fly, rent him a car, put him in a hotel, like all of these bells and whistles where it's like, he can just like go in his basement and just like call it there. So this pandemic, I think, is going to be an evolution of broadcasting, and I think it's going to change forever. So my advice to like young broadcasters out there is like, start working on your home setup. I like your home setup, Jenna. I don't know about the weird cactus. Is that real or fake?
It's absolutely fake. It's just a facade. Yeah, we got some candles. We got a sign. All brought to you by Target. Target is not sponsoring this ad, but if they would like to, please contact
That's not
me.
bad. How about this? See, everyone's got to have like
I was going to ask about the shoe. What's up with the shoe?
Okay, so here's the deal, right? This is my cousin Eddie from vacation. I don't know if you're old enough to remember that.
Yes.
He gave Clark Griswold a pair of these. And for some reason, my dad had a pair of them. And they were so funny because he would always wear them on like holidays. And it was such like a conversation starter that I told myself as a little boy, when I get to a certain age to buy white shoes, I'm going to buy myself a pair of white shoes. So I put them back there, and that's what everybody talks about is the white shoes that I have.
It's the first thing that my eye goes to. Like, I mean, I see the dice, which makes sense, and the football and the basketball and a few other things I can't see, but the shoe, I remember I was like, what's up with the shoe? And what's funny about you and the shoe is the last setup I had before I moved, I had a pair of shoes in my setup.
I had, this is a bobblehead of me that my college roommate, he had his whole wedding party. He made them bobbleheads. So I don't know how accurate that is of me, but
I mean, the hair looks the exact same.
It was a pretty unique gift. Like,
yeah.
I've been best man. How many times do you think I've been best man at a wedding?
I'm going to say at least 3.
8. So
what? People like you that much?
Here's the deal. I've realized this. I become friends with guys that don't have brothers. So I become like the older brother in American Pie that like gives them the book on like how to like, I was that friend that like showed them like, here's how you bet on a horse. Like, here's how you pick up a girl. Like I was the older brother to all of these guys. And a few of them were like, I actually don't want to make you the best man, but the speech is going to be hilarious. So I think I got 2 or 3 just speeches out there, and I declare that best man.
I think you can. I was the maid of honor once. I'm still young though. And the bride was like, you have 5 minutes. And I was like, okay. Like she was like strict, and I did a timer on it. And I think I went a minute over, and I was like, are you mad at me right now? She's like, no, it was great. And I was like, good. I made you laugh. I made you cry. I did everything in 6 minutes. I'm not mad about it, but
good for you. I actually told my wedding party and everyone that spoke, including my father-in-law, because we paid for the wedding, 2.5 minutes everybody got. So I was a little tighter. If anybody wanted to give a speech, I felt it was more appropriate for the night before rehearsal dinner, because here's the deal about wedding. Nobody remembers what you ate. They don't remember the invitation. All they remember was, oh yeah, that was a great time. You remember we got wasted. Like, so all people remember from weddings is what type of time they had. And if everybody was having fun, the chicken, the steak, whatever, as long as it was something that I could eat and it was edible, I want to remember kind of the whole experience of the wedding.
Good music, and I will say the drunk food. The 2 best drunk food I've had at a wedding was someone had a hot dog cart, which I thought was fantastic. And then someone had, it looked like a wedding cake of White Castle sliders.
I mean, 2 foods, hot dogs and White Castles, that are such great decisions when you're in such a bad decision. I actually ate White Castle once on a date before I went out. I was like, I'm kind of hungry. Then every time I burped, it was like, I actually had to go home. I I don't know if anyone's had the fart experience when they start farting and then like they're so rancid that they have to leave the bar. My burps were so rancid that I had to let's just say I didn't end up marrying that girl.
Well, I think it worked out for you. Okay, so I really want to pivot a little bit. I want to talk about your job. And, I feel like you're on Tim Doyle's second act right now, which I just think is remarkable. But before you got to the second act, we got to talk about your first act. So Big Ten dropped you in 2017. And I read a quote somewhere that you said it was the worst thing that happened to me was I lost my job, but the best thing that happened to me was I lost my job. Why was it the best thing that happened?
Well, it forced me to kind of look at the person that I was when I was 24 and 25. I had really had an unusual rise from being a player at Northwestern to that fall, the Big Ten Network starting. And that was kind of my opportunity in. And I believe if I graduated a year later or a year before, I didn't go to school for broadcasting. Like I was going to go take a sales job. And, it was just a really fast meteoric rise. And I think when you're in your 20s, that was just a lot for me to handle. And I had a really big ego. And I think I rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And that's been kind of the evolution that I've had throughout my career in life. And that's where, getting back to the kids part, having perspective and raising a kid that's special needs and watching his day-to-day struggle, my son, Chicago Joe, has put in perspective like, wow, I was an asshole when I was 24 and 25. And I really had a big ego. And I think a lot of people who are on television or in the entertainment industry, whether it's a singer or someone who's on radio or whatever, right? They kind of, and you have to have that confidence about yourself to go out there, but they kind of feel themselves. And I think I was feeling myself and didn't understand the platform that I was on at the time. I've apologized to those bosses and I've recognized that, I didn't understand, and I call it the game. I didn't understand the game at the time. And when I lost my full-time broadcasting job, I took a day job that I still have to today. I sell credit card processing, which is not very glamorous, but it has allowed me kind of some leverage in the broadcasting business, because now with the evolution of home studios and just really the evolution of how people are getting their information, not sitting in front of a TV, going through social media, watching the news on their phone, picking out, and that's all started since I got into broadcasting in 2007. By having another job, it has allowed me to not have all my eggs in the broadcasting basket. And with a wife and kids and a family and responsibilities and a mortgage, mentally, that has put me in a much better place. And I think it's actually made me a better broadcaster. So when I have an audition or when I have an opportunity, I'm not like, oh man, like this is it. Like I have to make this work. And I see so many times when I work with guys that are getting an opportunity, a young guy, they're like, let me show you how much I know. And it's like, dude, no one's watching this particular game because you're announcing it. It's like, make sure you do a good job, engage with me, tell the story of the game, but like you're so amped up for this opportunity. And that's what broadcasting is. So I really learned a lot from my mistakes in my 20s. I think it's made me a better broadcaster. More importantly, it's made me a much, much better person.
That's good. I love that. And the second act of you is that gambling saved your life, which is just is something no one would ever friggin' say on the planet. Did you ever envision when you were a kid sitting at the bar with your dad, he's teaching you how to bet the ponies, that this would be like a full circle moment for you later now?
I knew it was something that I really knew, and I knew the lingo, and that was something that I grew up in a very unusual household where, and I use this example growing up in New York. One day you're rooting for the Mets, and then the next day you're rooting against the Mets. So as a child, that's definitely, then you go to school and they're like, who do you root for? I'm like, some days the Cardinals, some days the Padres. Like, I don't know. It kind of depends. And when I lost my job, I did see an opportunity because I played, and I can really dive into X's and O's of basketball. If I could kind of put it with a spin and involve the spread. And then I saw, kind of the legalization of sports gambling, and it's not so hush hush and so back room. And now that it's really becoming mainstream is probably the word I'm looking for. Now it's become mainstream. Now I become a credible source. I'm an ex-player. I can really talk to it. And it's really kind of been this rebirth in my career. But gambling is something that you do have to have some sort of grip on. And I've definitely lost my grip at times, whether it's over the course of a month or a week. And I do think there's a lot of dangers to it as far as not setting limits. And, there's a reason why, right? The casinos are built and they give you everything to come out to Vegas. And because, the likelihood of winning it can happen, but over the long term, the odds are just stacked against you. So that's something that I want to put out there to a lot of young people, because I think people see it as, oh, this is a way to make money. And it's like, yeah, it could be for a night, for a week, but trying to do it over the course of your life, it's basically impossible.
It's probably not going to happen. I love Chicago Joe, and he'll get 10% of this conversation after we're done. He's incredible. Like, he's probably going to go into the family business, betting the ponies, talking about the spread. He picks the right teams, and he's your best friend. What has he taught you about life?
Loaded question. I think that he's just really put in perspective what's important in life. And for me, early on in my 20s, I thought broadcasting and being famous and getting caught up with all that was important. And now that I'm a dad and stuff, it's just showed me the little things in life. Like, I laugh more with my kids and smile and stuff than I do with my friends. And I love going out with my friends, and I love enjoy, but like, there's so many like small moments of joy with so many moments of pain, but there's so many moments where I'm laughing and, watching his struggle, learning how to walk. I mean, Jenna, nothing is worse than when he used to fall and he couldn't stand up. And like, as a father, like, a little piece of you would like break every time you see that. And now he can stand up and now he can do stairs, and like watching that evolution, like it's almost like, it used to be every day I would kind of well up or get like emotional. Now it's become like every 7th or 14th day that I start getting emotional. I'm Irish, Jenna. The Irish do not express themselves well.
Oh, I know. We repress it like far, far, far down.
But the thing is, when I started doing the gambling picks with him, and when I started posting this stuff on social media, that took about 6 to 8 months after I found out that he has Marfan syndrome, which is a connective tissue disorder, because I didn't want people to feel bad. Feel so bad for you. And kind of, maybe that's how they do it in my family. Like, my family is always like the world's ending. And it's like, that world's not ending. Like, we got these hurdles, we got these challenges, and we're going to overcome them. And I wanted to give him the confidence to speak up, like, he enjoys those videos, and he doesn't know anything about gambling. He's starting to know that James Harden has the beard and LeBron is the king, but like, he has a confidence about it that I didn't know how to deal with a kid that was handicapped. And I just wanted to give him like a belief and a confidence in himself, because he does look different. And little kids, they're curious. They want to know why he wears leg braces or why he looks like that. And I want him to speak up and say, I wear leg braces because it helps me walk. And I wear glasses because it helps me see. And when he gets to that point, that's what I have to turn away. I'm like, because I love that he's growing so much for confidence. So it's kind of a long answer, but yeah, it took me a long time to even speak like this, because I didn't know how to react. And I felt like I was always going to have like athletes for kids, and we're going to have Neanderthals, and they're going to play basketball and hit people. And now that he's in my life, it's opened my eyes to, we went fishing recently. I've never fished in my whole life. And I don't even know if fished is a noun, but we went fishing, and I bought gardening gloves because I don't like fish. I don't like touching the fish. I've never gone fishing. So I had like my wife's like yellow gardening gloves on, and I had to take the hook off the fish. I have shot free throws in front of 15, 18,000 people. I've never been so nervous before getting the fish off the hook. Like, my heart was like pounding through my chest. I'm like, oh God. Like, so I dipped the fish back in, hoping it was like going to come off the hook. That didn't happen. So like just getting the fish off the hook, I was like, all right, we're going to take a break with fishing, but he's taught me to kind of expand my horizons.
What, I feel like you watching, Joe get his confidence has probably been, one of the best things that a parent could hope for, is seeing their kid kind of grow into themselves. Watching Joe evolve, has it given you confidence as a man?
It's given me appreciation. Um, I think that's the biggest word. Confidence. I've never been short on that, and to a fault. I think it screwed me a lot early in my career because I think people took it for arrogance, and I think um, confidence came from playing basketball and growing up in New York, especially playing in New York City, where, I was the minority everywhere I went. And, there was a confidence that came when you stepped in between the lines, a belief in yourself that you belonged and to play at that higher level. So some would say an arrogance, and maybe that carried on to TV. And I think that did affect me in a negative way. The word I would put, just appreciate being around them and be appreciate of the little moments. I think now with the phone, we're so addictive to, what everyone else is doing, or if there's sometimes, and I'm as guilty as anybody, but I try to be cognizant of, all right, I'm going to put apart this moment and try to engage with someone, look them in the eye, try to have that experience. And I think that's what the pandemic has forced a lot of people to do, is get to know kind of their family members, their partners. That's why you're going to see a lot of divorce here, because people are like, I actually don't even like you.
Yeah.
Because people don't engage anymore and have those moments to kind of lock in. And I think for young families right now, you survive this pandemic and now schools are going to be closed. I think couples, if you make it through this, they're going to be stronger than ever, because you're going to look back on this and be like, dude, we got through this. Because right now, if you got little kids at home, this is about as tough as it gets.
Yeah. My cousin just gave birth to her third, and obviously we can't go over because he's a newborn. But she has two other girls, and I'm like, oh my God, my head hurts thinking about that. So honestly, God bless to any parent who has any child in the house. Like, I genuinely don't know how they do it.
This has been tough, and I think that the older generation, I think, had a hard time accepting all of this with the virus, because they've seen everything. Oh, I've seen world wars and I've seen stuff, and they didn't understand. It's like, you got to kind of wear your mask. And they're like, I don't need to wear my mask. And I know that's how my dad was. And it was like, do you see who's not making it through this? It's old people. And I think everyone is just trying to kind of meander these waters, but the kids being at home, hats off to any parent that's holding it down, as well as my wife's a nurse. I've been working full-time to hold down full-time jobs. Like, there definitely is, like, I could see when this is all over, we're going to look back on this and be like, man, we made it through this, the toughest stretch that anyone's ever seen.
So true. So I found a quote you said when you were in college, and you said, my favorite thing is when I can do something I know no one expects me to do. What is the next unexpected thing that Tim Doyle does?
I think that having this platform of calling NBA games and 5 NBA regular season games I'm doing on NBA BetStream, presented by BetMGM, and then we're doing handful more playoff games. I told my wife this. I go, wow, to lose my job 2.5 years ago and to feel like a failure and to take a credit card processing sales job, like, there was some dark moments there. All the while, I got a handicapped kid, a newborn baby, and then to kind of get back, and not only get back, and I was calling college basketball games, to the NBA. Like, as a kid, like, I would have those moments in my driveway, right, where I would almost watch a car drive by, and I would time it so when they drive by, I would hit a shot, because I wanted them to see, like, wow, that guy's really working on his game. And that was always the goal. And then there was a reality that set in that, the NBA wasn't going to be a goal. But that was, like, always my dream, was like, wow, make it to the NBA. And now, like, it's kind of crazy that all these twists and turns in my life, like, oh, I'm in the NBA. Like when I'm on a conference call and they're like, all right, Marv Albert's going to be announcing the main game and you guys are going to be the alternative broadcast. I'm like, wow, Marv Albert. That's pretty cool. Like, wow. Like, I'm like, and I always say this about the NBA, like, I might be the backup punter who, like, wears, like, the bad number. Like, my number's like 83. No offense to anybody that wears 83 out there. But, like, I'm on the team. Like, hey, like people, like, they may throw towels at me. I'm okay with that. Like, I'm on the team. And that is, like, that is a pretty amazing thing. And I was like, wow, I got back to where a point that I never thought I'd be able to get back to.
I love that. All right, we are going to go ahead and have a quick cheers, and we're going to end with some random, ridiculous, random questions. Just a little fun game. I'm actually enjoying this way more than I thought this early in the morning, which might be a problem. Okay, Tim, what's something people would be surprised to know about you?
I do all of the cooking in my household.
Really?
So,
What's
yeah.
your like go-to dish?
I would make tomato and mozzarella caprese salad.
Yeah.
Marinate some chicken or throw some salmon on the grill. I'm mostly a griller, but I could also have some pasta with some shrimp. Yeah, I love to cook. It's therapeutic for me. But yeah, I'm the main cook in the house.
Love it. Okay, in regards to the NBA, who is most likely to put down 10 beers at halftime and come out scoring 30?
Wow. And now wine is the big thing in the
Or
NBA,
like
right?
let's say it's a whole bottle of wine.
I heard a great story about Larry Bird, and he was drinking at the Lodge on Division. You ever been there with the peanuts?
I have not.
Okay. They take the peanuts, throw the peanuts on the floor. And the Bulls cheerleaders were there, and they were buying Bird drinks. And I guess he was hammered. Right? And the Lodge, I think, stays open till 4. And the next day was a noon tip at the old Chicago Stadium, and he was like sleeping on the training table. And sure enough, he goes out. He has like 48 points, and the Celtics win. And he ran by the cheerleaders. He goes, "Thanks so much for those beers last night." So Bird was the guy that stood out to me. I've had a few beers and played in some men's league games. It's not like that big a deal. I think Luka Doncic, if you haven't seen the kid play from the Dallas Mavericks, because of the
Yeah.
rules now, I think he's one of those guys that is so shifty. I think he could have a few glasses of wine, go out there and perform.
Fantastic. Okay, what is your go-to drink at a bar?
I drink Coronas, which obviously sales have been down there, Jenna, with the old virus coming to town. Perfect night of drinking, 2 martinis, stuffed with blue cheese olives, and then 2 Coronas, and then I'm in the clear.
Okay. If you had a horse, what would you name it?
A horse with no name. I mean, this is easy. I've thought about my horse forever. A horse with no name. You remember that song? I've been to the desert on a horse with no name. That would be
Yes.
my horse. Although I have been betting this horse at Monmouth Park. Its name is Dr. Doyle. And if I wasn't a broadcaster, I always wanted to be a podiatrist, which actually isn't true. But that was always like, everyone has an alias. Jenna, you haven't even gone to a bar and like your name is like Virginia. Do you have a name alias?
Yeah, it's Serena.
Serena, yeah. Everyone's got a class.
There's Tiffany, she's annoying, there's Jennifer, and then there's Serena.
Wow, 3 different ones. And
Yeah, I know.
do you have
There's
professions for them?
personas.
Do you have professions
Yeah,
for them?
everyone has a profession, and that one is worse than the next. So
Come on, I want to hear them. Let's go. This is good stuff.
Tiffany is a dental hygienist.
Okay, great. Yeah, you get great benefits.
Jennifer is a preschool teacher.
Oh, she just loves little kids.
She just loves little kids and like loves to talk about her emotions and like everything in between.
Do you have like a cat or a dog or anything?
I don't really get into pets because normally I just get someone to get me a drink and then I like dip and I'm like, thanks, I got to go to the bathroom and then I'm gone.
The worst.
I am the worst, but it works and I'm fine with it. And then Serena's just very mysterious. I just keep her very light. So
yeah, she used to be a cashier at like a tarot, like she's a cashier at like an Orange Theory, and then she was like, yeah,
she can be. She can be. I let anyone think what they want about her, but she's the worst of them all. She normally comes out when I'm like, after I've had like a bottle of this and then decide to add like shots into the mix. That's when Serena comes out.
Well, there goes your secrets to everybody out there. So I appreciate you sharing.
I mean, you're welcome. I can't wait for someone to call me out on it. If someone ever does, I'll be like mortified. So we'll see what happens. Okay, what is the kindest thing a stranger has done for you?
That's a great stump. That would have to really be that is something where, yeah, I don't know. That's a great one.
Okay, think
That
of
is a stump. Like someone I've never met before. That's a stranger.
yeah. Tim, I think I lost you. Are you still there?
All right, you got me now? Yeah.
Yeah, I got you now. All right, there we go.
Yeah, the Stranger Thing's a great question. I've had guys like win at the track before and kind of give me like a $300 tip because they won so big, but I kind of knew those guys. Stranger question. I think you got me. I don't know if a stranger who I've never met before in my whole life has done something for me. And I'll do the opposite. I'll buy people breakfast. They have to be old. But if you're sitting there by yourself and you're an old person, I usually pay your tab. Because first of all, breakfast, what could it be worth? But this did backfire on me once, Jenna. I bought an old guy breakfast and then he ordered a glass of wine. I mean, who does that? So I'm sitting there and then I start chatting with him. And he's like, I used to come here with my wife all the time. Takes a drink of his wine. Dies on the spot. Okay. So my wife's in, she starts like, we kick out the tables and she starts like pumping CPR. And I don't know what to do. So I just like stand above him and I'm like, come on, Pop, you can live. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm just trying to like encourage him. Dead, blue lips, whole 9 yards. Fire ambulance come along. And I'm like, so they take him away. I call my dad. I'm like, Dad, you're not going to believe what happened. He's like, did you grab his wallet? I go, no, I didn't grab his wallet. That's where my dad's mind goes. So fast forward 7 months later, we're sitting at Irving Park in Ashland, Chicago. Here he comes. It's the guy. My wife's like 6 months pregnant. So I go running up to him and I'm like, it's you. He's like, 4 farlings. I'm like, yeah. He's like, thanks. Keeps walking by. Like we never knew what happened to him. I thought he died. They took him away. And then I see him and that's all I get. 4 farlings. Thanks. Walking on by. So I'm happy he lived. But it did scare the you-know-what out of me.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that's the last time you ever try to do something nice for a stranger. Oh my God. Wow. You're the kiss of death.
My wife was giving him mouth to mouth. This is obviously, years ago. And she was like, she's a nurse. She was trying to save him. I didn't know what to do. And he was blue. I don't know if I did that to him. Like, did I ignite emotions about his wife? And then he got, his heart started racing. I don't know. I've thought a lot about this, but I can't believe I saw him again. And then that was it. Thanks.
Okay. Wow, yeah. Okay, let's move on because I don't even know how to like end on that note. We're just gonna end on that note. What's your go-to karaoke song?
Okay, this has evolved over time, all right?
Okay.
It used to be New York, New York, because that was like my college karaoke song. And then it kind of started to drift into like Margaritaville, another easy sing-along.
Yeah.
But then I have this is it. Proud Mary, Tina Turner. I've sung this at weddings. Left a good job in the city, working for the man every night and day. And there's a big like crescendo with this. I've seen it take off at weddings. I've seen it fail. So it's a jump ball. It's not a guaranteed. But that has become my go-to karaoke, Proud Mary.
Proud Mary, fantastic. What is the one thing you will always bet on in life?
Not to be cheesy, right? But like, if I get, I'm always gonna bet on myself. Like after watching what happened over the last 2.5 years, like I'll always bet on myself. Now, saying that, on the fun side, I love betting the horses. There's just a strategy involved, and I love the fact you don't have to bet that much money, and you can win a ton of money. We had one during the pandemic. Me and my 2 buddies. One guy played at DePaul, the other guy played at Northwestern. We're on a text chain. We hit a pick 5 during the pandemic for $150,000, 50-cent bet. So it was a lot of different combinations, and we ended up hitting for $150,000 for a 50-cent bet. So a bunch of long shots won, but that's what I love about the horses is you don't have to bet a ton of money, and you could have this enormous payout.
Bet the ponies. What's your favorite restaurant in Chicago?
La Scrolla. It's on Grand and Halsted. I just love that. And it morphs into an experience. Have you ever been to Richard's next door? It
Oh, I
goes from,
love Richard's. I call Spiders of the North.
so you could have the La Scarola, great meal, and then go to Richard's where the bartender's like 110 and everybody's like smoking and everybody's dancing. They got a good jukebox there. I think it's an hour experience because like the smoke,
It hurts you. You get a headache.
the smoke's a lot, but I love kind of that feel. It's almost like when I go to La Scarola, then Richards, I feel like I've like transported back into like 1974. Like I feel like it's such a throwback experience with both the restaurant and the bar that it's so simple for me. I mean, nothing is the people watching down in the Viagra Triangle of Chicago is always
Oh God.
so
Yeah.
much great people watching. But if I had to go to it, it would be La Scarola.
Boscarola. Okay. Who should my next guest be?
I think it'd be really interesting to talk to Jay Hood, who just got the morning show on ESPN Radio. And him and I worked together for a company called Chicago Sports Webio. And it was only around for 2 or 3 months. Him and I were doing a 4-hour shift every day. And the guy who started Chicago Sports Webio, his name was David Hernandez. He ended up in a Ponzi scheme, getting arrested, going to jail, and obviously the whole station went up in flames. David Hernandez and Mike North, former Chicago radio personality, still on the radio. Sorry, Mike.
Yeah.
Him and David started it. And Jay Hood and I, Jay Hood left ESPN Radio, came to Chicago Sports Webio, kind of took a leap of faith. And then I've kind of watched his climb again because he went back to ESPN Radio. He was doing, let's just say, not the most glamorous shifts. Mm-hmm. And that grind for him back to where recently he just got ESPN Chicago just started a morning show to rival the Score in Chicago, 6:70 a.m. Normally ESPN was always taking the national feed, so it was Mike and Mike. So now for Jay Hood, I'm so happy and so proud of him that grind back reminded me of me. And I want to know what it was like for him and where he felt and the decisions that he made. And now that he's back, and it's going to be him and David Kaplan, who has such an amazing brand, such a good guy in Chicago, that I was so happy for him. It was a similar story to myself, and ironic enough, we were both radio partners. But he could really talk to the grind of the hours he put in and never giving up and staying with it. And now he's got such a great opportunity. I'm so proud of him, but I would love to hear his journey. I think he would be an amazing guest.
That would be awesome. I would love that. Okay, last 2 questions. What is the best piece of advice someone has given you?
The best piece of advice now that I heard probably in the last 12 months is because of the phone and text messaging, you can keep open lines of communication with so many different people. There is no reason not to check in with your best friend. There is no reason not to check in with your mom, your aunt, your favorite teacher. Now the ability to text people, because talking to someone, I get it. It is a big commitment. And I actually don't talk to anybody on the phone. When I talk to people, I talk to them on FaceTime. Because when you talk to them on the phone, Jenna, they're like, you're not paying attention. Like, pay attention to me. Like, so FaceTime forces, it
forces this,
everybody on the phone, I get it. We're all living, we got 1,000 things going on. So I think now to communicate with people is so easy, and to keep open lines of communication with so many different people. That was great advice, because texting has become kind of the new way to communicate with people.
Okay. And then lastly, what have you learned the most about yourself during this pandemic?
Great question. Don't ever let a good crisis prevent you from coming out better on the other side. I've made a few pivots in my career on multiple levels where, I saw the opportunity when sports got canceled. I was in Dallas. I was covering the Mavericks game when Mark Cuban got the text and everything. And I came home and I went, still racing horses. Horses are still running. And I got my son Joe, and we were doing bits, and we were breaking down the races. Like, don't let a good crisis get in the way of trying to make something positive out of it. So, it's definitely been a complete nightmare for people losing their jobs, and it's been horrible on people's mental health, and who knows what the ramifications are going to be on this for years to come. But I think it's a time for you to kind of reevaluate and look at the situation where you're at and try to make a move to try to better yourself. So I've been there before when I've lost everything and lost my job and felt like a failure. And now is the time that you kind of earn your stripes and you see what type of person you really are. So the pandemic's been a challenge. Like I said, to all the parents out there with little kids, I feel you. This has been as tough as it gets, but don't let a crisis like this, whether I'm sure the bar has had that on your end, don't make it so you got to be able to come out stronger on the other end. Get creative. Like now's the time. We're all animals, right? We figure out a way to kind of make it work, whether we need food or whether we're leaving Ireland because there's nothing to eat. Like we make it work in order to survive. So now's the time that you can really dig deep, look inside of you and try to make it work and figure it out.
All right. Well, you finished yours, but we always end on a toast. You don't even have anything, do you? Maybe.
This is straight vodka, or it's also known as water. So
okay,
whatever. Make believe it's vodka.
We'll make believe it's vodka. It doesn't matter if you win or lose as long as you cover. So cheers to covering.
Cheers.